So this is the lineup in full. And if you're with us for the semi-finals, you'll have heard that we're going to get a 7th different nation winning across the last 7 editions. Czech Republic, Poland, Latvia, Romania, France and Russia winning the last 6 editions. None of them athletes in this final. So Katrina Wright and Yemi Mary John, so winning that World Under-20 title in Colombia last summer. Different conditions to this. Jeager, so she's the other athlete who's gone sub 52 seconds, 51.65 in Jessheim in Norway last month. Keely Hodgkinson, very much an 800-metre specialist. However, over the last couple of years, she has lowered her 400 time to 52.2. Zoe Sedney lowered her time in this competition to 52.11. As I say, World and European indoor finalist over 60 metres. Julia Sen, also highly ranked, just 200 faster. Her PB is than Keely Hodgkinson. And Julie Ertsgaard sneaked home for one of those non-automatic qualifying spots to make sure that Norway are represented in both the men's and women's final by 3 athletes in total. And then Segura of Spain on the inside there. European under-20 4x4 silver medalist from 2 years ago in Tallinn. And this time we've hopped across the Baltic to Finland, hosting this under-23s for the 3rd time. So what a brilliant race. Only noise I can hear is a couple of Finnish seagulls. Segura, Ertsgaard, Sen, Sedney, Hodgkinson, Jeager, John and Wright in this women's 400-metre final. So Yemi Mary John, second from the outside there in the GB kit, being closed down by Jeager. Really interesting to see the different ways of running of 400 metres, and indeed whether the athletes run it differently to how they ran the heats and semi-finals. So John and Jeager, those 2 sub 52 second runners, going nicely at this point. Sedney with work to do. What about Hodgkinson? Should have good speed endurance. But this is perhaps going to be a battle on between Jeager and Yemi Mary John starting to come through. But Jeager fights back now. Who's going to get to the line first? Yemi Mary John fighting. Jeager falls through. All comes down to the torso. 51.04 on the clock. So they both smashed their personal bests. Well, we have to look at that. It is Yemi Mary John. Jeager falling over the line, but it wasn't quite her torso, was it? It is, though, a Norwegian national record. So, matching in a way, Havard Bendal Ingebrigtsen, who's coming up in the men's 400 final. He's got the Norwegian senior record. He's still under 23. The same true of Jeager. And Keely Hodgkinson getting the bronze. Big personal best by best part of a half a second for her. And you know what? If you looked at the times on paper before this final, that's just about how you'd expect it to go. Top 3 there or thereabouts in those positions. What order they were going to finish in, well, we weren't sure until right at the very end of that race.
Well, I have to say, looking at Yemi Mary John yesterday, going through the heats and the semis, she just looked so relaxed. Other people were clocking slightly faster times, but Yemi Mary John, as the European leader coming into this event, just was so composed. And I had her marked down, I think I mentioned it yesterday, as the favourite, and she duly delivered. But she was really given a race all the way to the line by Jeager. Henriette Jeager of Norway being rewarded possibly with a few bruises, but nevertheless a Norwegian senior record. Well, we've had some great times in recent years for Norway. There's a bit of a grimace on her face. I think she's still got a couple of bruises because she was running out of energy towards the line. She was overstriding, and this track isn't very forgiving at the moment given the amount of rain that's been on it, but she skidded over the line, but nevertheless just missing out by 0.02 of a second. But Yemi Mary John, she timed it to perfection. She's a great runner, and she's got the tactical aspect of this one-lap race right down to a T, and came through so strongly. There's a nice photo of all the medalists, and as you were saying, Keely Hodgkinson, that'll be a big boost for her 800-metre ambitions, both in the Diamond League and going forward to the World Championships in Budapest next month.
Yeah, yet another 51-second time for Yemi Mary John. She has been blasting those out right across the season. Have a look at that then. Jeager falling across the line, trying to get there. 0.02 of a second, that's how it looks on the photo finish screen.
Well, Jeager, I think she sensed with about 5 metres to go that Yemi Mary John had got her, and those last couple of strides she was just overstriding, just trying desperately to claw back that advantage that Yemi Mary John had got over the final 5 to 10 metres. Well, it's perhaps not the photo that Henriette Jeager would like to see, but when she sits down and perhaps dabs a bit of antiseptic on the bruises, she'll realise she actually ran an absolutely fantastic race. But there was no stopping Yemi Mary John in the end, and it did go, as you rightly said, something to form.
I don't know if the fall to the ground is any softer in the wet conditions, but yes, it might be a little bit more harsh in terms of those bruises in the dry. Yemi Mary John might have wished that she'd gone sub 51 for a world individual qualifier, given she was third at the British Championships last weekend. So John from Jeager and Hodgkinson, our medalists. So he said, it is at least